Please all rise and join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Trustee Allen, can I ask you to pass that visit? Yes, please. Not sure.
Okay. Well, I welcome you all here to the Board of Trustees meeting this March. There's quite a few of you here that have signed up for public comment, and I don't know if you're referring to the public hearings on the landscaping and leaf blowers. If you are, you may want to wait until that discussion opens. But I'll call you anyway, and if you want to wait, just let us know. Bill Fox?
Landscape.
Okay. Jay Deasing?
Good evening, my name is Jay Deasing, and I'm a resident of the village.
Does this have to do with the flat roof?
No.
Okay.
As Monty Python used to say, and now for something completely different.
You're in the transformer business. I just thought, since I know that the hearings that you have later on this evening are going to be perhaps a bit more contentious, I hope not, but I thought this might be something that we could all agree on, and that I hope these are pictures of the past, not the present and not the future. Unfortunately, I think all of us have seen these massive poles, transformers go up. And I'd love if you could make a resolution and authorize a committee to be empowered to try and, in the village business district, try and work with National Grid, with PSE&G, obviously with any other work that's being done, so that next time around, or perhaps even this time around, we can start to get some of these poles buried. Because I know, for example, I'm not far from Little Plains. We had a transformer explode a couple of months ago. These are unsightly. I think they're unsafe. Some of these poles are only 8 to 12 inches off of the street. And given the traffic, the crowds that we have in our village, I think I'm all for preserving the past. This is not a part of the past that I think we want to preserve. So I really think that I know it may cost some money, but I would tell you to do a referendum and find out what it might cost, and throughout this village business district, really work over the next 10 to 15 years to go ahead and get these poles removed and the lines buried. Because I think along Job's Lane, we've just put in some beautiful trees, and I know what's going to happen. 5 years from now, LIPA or PSE&G or National Grid is going to come in and cut the center of the tree out. And then we're going to wonder why in another 5 years from then the tree's going to die. And in the meantime, it's going to be quite dangerous, because the tree loses its natural resilience when you cut out the center of the tree. So I would love to have the village consider this. I think all groups, hopefully all residents would love to see that. But these, I think, sort of, to me, were sad pictures of the start of spring. And they did it so quickly. I mean, literally, I think it's only been 2 weeks, and I can't believe the size of some of these poles that are going up, and they're putting 3 transformers on some of these poles. So I know they don't they have an exclusion being a public utility with rights of way and all sorts of things. But let's appeal to their greedy side and tell them that we'll pay them some money to help bury these poles. And I think people in the village would really support that. So,
No, I thank you for that, Jay. But, the interesting thing is the poles that were replaced weren't the electrical company. That was all FEMA. And it happened after Sandy. They got what they referred to as a hardening of the electrical system on the eastern end of Long Island. And as you pointed out, I've got to argue, how can you harden a pole system when you put up 3-4 transformers at the top?
mhm.
It doesn't look like hardening to me, but
No, and this one in particular, when you look at it, it's actually already tilting.
yeah.
It's kind of scary, and given the winds that we have here, this is just not, I think, a smart, efficient way to handle the electric. I'm not sure what goes on them anymore, whether it's cable, electric, phone.
This is mostly electric.
Mostly electric. But I do think it would be a huge upgrade, and especially since I understand we're going to be digging up parts of Job's Lane. I mean, it's probably too late on this go-round, but I think we really ought to set a goal and say that going forward, notify these utilities that they need to let us know, not that we will tell them that they can't do the necessary work that they have to do, but they have to do it in a way, and we'll pay for the difference to bury these, because it is particularly, you drive up Hill Street and it's beautiful. You go, wow, there's no telephone poles. I mean, you really then feel like you're in the country, but here you feel like you're in, New York City, late 1800s.
Were we made aware of this? And if so, how much advance were we made aware of this?
We were made aware of it, and it was ESPG was doing some of the electrical work, but most of the pole replacement was all done by FEMA. And Gary has a schedule. He's been meeting them weekly. But
Perhaps that should maybe be, this, as Jay's asking, I think, who knew, or nobody, maybe that should be presented, or Gary should
Yep.
present in the future. I mean, so he knew this was happening, and maybe that should be presented, so,
there's actually 2 poles that are leaning on Job's Lane.
Yeah, so maybe, with Russell, just so that we could notify that we want 6-month windows, so that we could figure out what the cost might be and if we would be willing to do it. I know about 20 years ago, we did on our street try to bury just 4 telephone poles, and they wanted $40,000.
Well, you know what, I look at what happened out in California when the poles went down. I mean, that utility company wants to declare bankruptcy because they're being sued because they started the fires when they came down. They could come down and burn down our entire village. I mean, really, that's an enormous liability. If the poles were underground or the wires were underground, we wouldn't have that.
I think we had at one of the 4th of July parades a Mylar balloon that went up and started a little fire, and it was a dry summer.
And electricity went out.
We could really have an issue, as you say, with those old buildings. It
Yeah.
wouldn't be at all unthinkable. So, very much appreciated. I'd be happy to try and get some people from different areas of the community to get involved and provide support. And perhaps even do some of the legwork of, going in front of the New York State, Utility Commission and writing letters and letting them know that, utility companies in areas where this is an issue, shouldn't be able to just walk in and put up larger poles with more transformers just because that's easiest for them.
Yeah, their next project, just so you know, is Hampton Road. They're going to do that in April.
And I think that still has poles on it, doesn't it? So, I mean, it would be a wonderful opportunity if we could slip something in and at least get some of that taken care of.
poles and small trees. So the combination is not good because then you really see the wires.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, good point.
no, it's true because they're on the north side, or south side of the road.
Good, well, thank you. Do you want me to leave these? Would this be useful?
You know what, if you could, if you don't need them, if you could leave them, that's great, because I will make sure that they see them next Monday.
Good, thank you.
Okay.
The next individual on here, you sort of signed it, so I'm not sure who it is. 52 Lewis Street. Yep. Okay. And Fran?
Just to do with landscaping?
No.
Something different. Let's mix it up a bit.
Well, Wayne.
He knows the rules.
Francis Adamczewski, 40 West Prospect Street. I was wondering what the code was for security cameras outside of private homes. I went down to Little Plains to have lunch, and there's security cameras
Stick out the head.
outside the hedge. So I don't know, in the summertime, there could be an issue with kids and people and whatever, but I don't know what your law is for security cameras outside.
I think that's
Especially a private homeowner.
new,
Funny. I've always thought the same thing. So he knows them stick out of the
Yeah.
hedges.
Yeah, they stick out on 4x4s on a little round globe or whatever it
There's
is.
just one of Pulaski, too.
Yeah, so I was just wondering if that's legal or if they,
would have to look into it.
okay. And my second point here is Lake Agawam, the planting around the corner, when is that starting, or
It hasn't started yet.
Okay,
They're
so
going
there's
to do
no-
a presentation.
there's no presentation yet set for plantings yet? Because Surf Riders has done some projects in East Hampton, and I don't know if you would like their input for like a watershed for the plants and stuff like that.
No,
That would help.
they're-
I mean,
Yeah, it would help.
I could have somebody come and speak about that, because they're all into that
Yeah.
planting, to make sure that, and maybe the homeowners on the other side of the lake too could plant a little buffer in front of their waterfront too, because there's a few houses there that don't have any
Buffers.
buffers. And that's about it for that. Thank you.
Thank you. Pat Manley? Okay. Good. Is there anybody else who has a comment, or? Michael?
Haven't seen you in a while.
Hey. I know you missed me.
Your iced tea is very good, by the way.
Oh, thank you. I'll get more.
Still state your name, though.
Michael White.
Thank you.
Lee Avenue. It's, I have a house there, and it's flooded constantly, and it's getting worse. And, it obviously needs some drainage, maybe the end of the road lifted or something. But somebody's going to get hurt there, because now it's 4 foot deep when it's flooded. And, the highway department, they drag out the barriers, but, somebody's going to get hurt. And then what's going to happen is, the village is going to end up getting sued if somebody gets caught in their car, or, and they can't get out. I mean, people drive through there, they drive up on our lawn, and this has been going on for years. So,
Find out if they've been draining, there's a whole series of
dry wells, yeah.
dry wells there.
Yeah.
And I hope they haven't let them get filled up, so then when you get a rain, you do get feet of water and so on. And
I thought we added some more dry wells not too long ago, but we'll look into that, obviously.
Well, they're in the water, that's why they don't work. They're actually,
The ground
Ground-
water.
Yeah,
They're
it's-
always half full.
yeah. The highway department goes there all the time, and they do clean them, but, the water's just too high now, and it's not good. So I was wondering if they could put dry wells further up the road or something, because I don't know what the answer is. And the other thing is it's polluting Hetty Creek because all the water off the road is ending up into the creek. When the water table goes back down, it just sucks it into the creek there. So, it's polluting the bay too. So that was my only comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Any other comments? So we'll move ahead. We have no board presentations, and we'll move to the public hearings. And the first public hearing we have is on annual registration of landscapers. So I'll make a motion to open the proposed local law on annual registration of landscapers.
Second. Good. All in favor?
Aye.
Mayor, the previous public hearings, you've opened both number 1 and number 2 at the same time. If that would be your preference as well?
We can do that. And I'll make a motion to open proposed local law on nuisances, unnecessary noise from construction and property maintenance.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
If I may, we had 2 official correspondence about these local laws. One was very much in favor of the leaf blower legislation, and the second requested that the village accept the Southampton Town Home Improvement License as opposed to the county.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, based on the comments you received over the last 2 public hearings, you asked me to go back and consider some changes. The first one in the proposed landscaper registration law had to do with the filing fees and the like, and that there was a distinction between an individual versus a company. So in the proposal that is put forth at this time that's been on your desk is that there will be one single registration fee of $75, and that's reduced. You are allowed, the authorization would allow you to change that fee in the future if you deem that's not covering your costs. The second revision to that law, one of the things that we discussed with the clerk's office is in the event the board was going to adopt this, it would require very prompt implementation by the clerk's office. Twofold. One is getting applications together. 2 is getting the required stickers. We found the logistics of that probably couldn't happen in time, in a timely fashion. The other thing is it came out through the comments in that you would require county license as one of the requirements to get your local registration. It would take people time to get that together as well. So one of the suggestions is that this law not become effective, if you were to adopt it now, would not become effective until January 1st. So you would have your licensing, your registration requirement starting in 2020. The other thing is we did correspond with the county. In particular, with respect to the licensing, and it is the county's position that they license landscapers, including those who hold themselves out as contractors mowing lawns. So right now, that is the county's position. So those who are not aware of that should know that the county does require that license currently. So the proposal in front of you still keeps the county licensing. As far as a town license wouldn't apply in the village. The town's law doesn't apply in the village. And you would have to adopt a separate local home improvement law, similar to many other villages, that also calls for the administration through the town, and that would require a cooperative agreement with the town as well. So that would have to occur totally separate from this. You could go down that path. It requires still some more investigation to see what other villages have done, what the town cooperative agreement requires. But at this point, your law would stay the way it is, require the county license as a prerequisite of getting your registration. So that's the landscape registration. As to the new,
Just one question.
Sure.
So you're saying that if someone applied for, we're requiring landscapers to apply for a registration fee of $75 here, but they must also have a county license.
correct,
So county and village.
a county license,
And
but a
village.
registration with the village,
Okay. But not town.
not town at this time. The town license wouldn't apply in the village. As to your proposed nuisance law, again, based on the comments, particular from this board, the first thing, did some slight restructuring to make it clear the definitions of construction work and then the hours of operation in separate subsections. Substance didn't change. Same with the definition of property maintenance and landscaping, the definition, what applies, what doesn't apply, and then, again, the hours of operation. The one thing, a comment that did come out through the hearings is that that the description of the work should also include deliveries. So you have construction activities, and they receive all the lumberyard deliveries and the thing, and that should occur at the same hours. The other question that came up was in your property maintenance definition, there was an exception for landscaping work or property maintenance after cleanups, after major storms. There was a question, what is a major storm? And typically a major storm involves a declaration of a state of emergency by the mayor. So that was added into the law. The other thing was the board had, with respect to the gas power leaf blowers, you had discussed the dates, previously May 15th to September 30th. We changed that to extend it to May 20th and shortened it to September 20th. So your dates where gas-powered leaf blowers would be banned from operation in the village is May 20th to September 20th. The other thing that was in there was an exception on the leaf blowers was originally proposed where your golf clubs, which we realize we don't have any, beach club and tennis clubs and the village municipal employees would be exempt from the leaf blower regulations. The board, after discussing with both some of the clubs as well as our municipal employees, realized that they could both operate within the terms of the leaf blower regulations and that you would not exempt them from the leaf blowers, so they would have to comply and use electric leaf blowers during the time of May 20th to September 20th. However, in the discussions of that, they realized the other component of the law, which has to do with the construction work and property maintenance and landscaping, that there were times of operation, and that historically both our municipal employees as well as some of the clubs have historically operated. In fact, part of their primary operation occurs earlier in the morning. So for our municipal employees, need to get out and start mowing certain areas so that they are done with that before all the parking lots and the public are there. So they typically are out 6 o'clock in the morning and getting that work done. But that does not involve leaf blowers. So it would only be the mowing activities. So we did provide for that provision in the property maintenance and landscaping aspect, that the clubs and the municipal employees can commence their operations at 6 a.m. And they are the changes that are basically on your table now for consideration.
I think
I thought it was okay. I would like to. I hope I'm not needlessly taking time out. Charles Bellows, I'm a village resident, 52 Lewis Street. We have a small business, landscaping business. And I'm not here to address the noise ordinance, except to say that we support the thoroughness of looking into that. We have used batteries for about 3 or 4 years now for most of our operations. We like the batteries because they're a lot quieter. But I am asking to get clarification, because I know it's not only me, but some other people have been asking me about the county license and the town license. And I know you're trying to understand and be very thorough as a board in approaching this, but I'm hearing two different positions on this, going for the county and going for the town, and I've heard also both might be required. And I appreciate the board being very thorough and careful here, because our attorneys sought out a long while ago from the county advice for us on licensing. Well, I'm not going to go into my past, but out of curiosity, I just had my computer guy get an application from the county, and it states right on the front, and this, I hope, isn't confusing, because I would like to get it straight too. Suffolk County home improvement licenses are not valid in the townships of Southampton, East Hampton, and Shelter Island. That was consistent with the advice that was given to me by our attorneys. Please check with all of the townships.
Go on. Yeah, please finish the rest of that sentence there, though.
I'm sorry.
Continue.
Okay. Reading the script, noting the applicability on the licensing for people that are interested in applying. It further states, please check with all other townships and municipalities for their license requirements. So there's some confusion amongst, I think, some of the tradespeople, which way to go here or to get both. And I appreciate, and I declined to speak because I saw here that you're not going to really require this until December 2020?
January 1st.
January 1st, so we got this season without the requirement for licensing. And I guess my point is...
Just be careful. I'll try to clarify it. So first of all...
I appreciate the board being very careful treading in this area, because we didn't get the Suffolk County license. We looked into it because of this directive, and also we don't service beyond the town of Southampton. So we're wondering why, and if this is a burden to some people that might be in the same situation that we're in, where it wouldn't normally be required for our company, as long as our mission statement is we're entirely focused in the village. So I would think that the town would be the license, but tonight I read it's just Suffolk County licensing and not the town. And I was planning on getting both, just to cover it. And
well, my first recommendation is for you to get both.
We have all the insurances and all the DEC licensing that goes with this. So it's easy to do, just have to pay the fees, but we're willing to do that. But we just need to know what the direction is, and I know you haven't decided yet.
No, it's very clear. I'll make this clear again, well, despite the confusion with the county application, because it says townships of Southampton. We're the village of Southampton, so you know we're two different municipalities.
Correct. It's
so,
3 different layers.
Exactly. So the first thing is the town license requirements does not apply in the village. Period.
Well, let's say the way our attorney spoke before...
I don't know who your attorney is, but I'd be happy to talk to them, but the town license does not apply, town law does not apply in the village.
That doesn't come as a surprise. but you were going to adopt the town license at one point.
The proposal has never been the
It
town
was-
license.
It was discussed in the
Oh,
meetings.
everybody's raised the comment, but it's never been proposed by this village.
Correct. It was discussed at the meetings.
Yes, it's been raised.
It's been raised.
And we have done, what you have done is try to get a clear answer. And what has been clear is, in particular, I got an email again today clarifying this from the county, and there's case law on this as well.
Yes.
Okay, so the town license does not apply in the village. There are villages within the town of Southampton that have their own local law, and that local law specifically refers to the administration of their village, the village law with the administration of the town license, and they have an intermunicipal agreement with the town to do that. There's 4 villages within the town that do that. There's 2 villages that do not, Southampton and Sagaponack, do not apply or administer the town license. We could do that.
You could, though.
We
Right.
could do that. We would have to adopt a whole separate law
Right.
and get an agreement with the town to administer that law within the village.
I think you stated that earlier in your discussion.
I did.
Your presentation, sir. Yeah.
I did, but
All
that
right.
has not been accomplished to date. It has not been done, okay?
Is it more expeditious, or why is it that the positioning seems to be with the county more than the town? I'm not an attorney, you would think that we would link up with the town before linking up with the county. Is it a liability question and a court question? Because if there is action taken against the company, you would end up in a town court, wouldn't you?
Not necessarily.
But I don't think we would end up in a Suffolk County, and I don't think they would respect it. So this is why
As I mentioned to the board,
our legal advice
the
was-
board chose, right now, we don't have a village code that, in fact, it was repealed in 2006. Our local home improvement license for contractors in the village was repealed in 2006 in its entirety. Okay, and at that time, the public hearings, the minutes indicate is because the village was going to choose whether or not to go with the town or the county at that time.
that time.
What happened is there's correspondence between the village, and I don't know the entire facts, but the village chose to stick with the county licensing thereafter, and that's where we are at this moment. So the point is, absent the village adopting a whole separate law and coming to an agreement with the town on the licensing, okay, we are only left at this moment to accept the county license, if we're going to do that.
I see
Now,
it better.
one of the things this board has asked us to do is continue to explore the town licensing, and by implementing this next January, it gives us time to consider that.
Yeah, I would think that it would be, you pursue the evaluation on your own course, more expeditious to link it with the town than the county. But you can arbitrarily say you just need the license, but then it's a burden for some companies that have no mission. In our mission, we're not serving that broad coverage in our company. We do not service beyond
Mr. Bells?
the township. Well, it's really the village now. Go ahead.
Actually, because I understand your point, and I agree with your point. So I'll get, as the council just said.
Just raise it as a
No,
concern,
because it's
not an
been, I've
argument.
heard a lot of it, and having worked in the mom and pops growing up and so forth, so I have, and the ones that escalate to large enterprises, but, we have a couple in this room that are the smaller ones. So I think we all agree about having to, keep track of them and registration and so forth, but a very valid point, which you bring up, is whether it should be county or town. The council has said we don't currently have an agreement with the town, but that's been raised through these public hearings. I've had side conversations with friends of mine who are in the business and so forth and so on. And I raised the same question. It would seem more logical to align with the town, what other villages do, than the county. So
Yeah.
your point is well taken, and that's exactly what we're going to look at doing,
Okay.
which means we would possibly alter what the law is here. But the good news is the counselor said nothing's happening, as you pointed out, until January.
Yeah, that's why I
So
deferred.
that's the good news. So
Yeah.
nothing is occurring as of yet, as far as that level. And we will look into, I'd like to see us look into, again, aligning with the town, associating with the town and the county.
I'm sorry I can't recall the legalese involved with it, but
I'm
I
not a
was,
lawyer either.
that was part of it, that if there's action taken against you, you have to have the liability, of course we do. And if there's action
Right.
taken, you're going to want, at that time, but this is, I'm old now, this is a long while ago, you're going to wind up in town hall.
Yeah,
Counselor-
But you may
So
not, but you're
It
right.
throws me
It's-
that I'm
it's-
being, directed back to the county, which we will do willingly.
You made it, I agree with you.
I'm
Your point is-
also
your point
concerned
is-
about
your point
the
is well
small
made,
guy,
and
the
small
lawnmower
guy-
guys, if that's a real burden
Yeah, no,
for
I
a
agree
lot
with
of
you.
people.
I agree with
To
you.
have to go to Suffolk County and
agree
go
with
through that rigmarole.
I agree with you.
Okay.
So I
Mr.
think the
Bellows?
board will be looking into that.
I just
Yes.
wanted to add to what Rich is saying, though, but Counselor, please correct me if I'm wrong. Everyone in the village is already under the jurisdiction of the Suffolk County license.
Currently.
Currently.
So if
And
you're
that's the-
operating in the village,
yeah.
you need a county license right now.
And that has been a big surprise to everyone, including us.
No one knows.
Yeah,
Nobody
this is
really knew this, and it's a
also in
burden.
the trade, too.
And-
Not everybody
Right.
has done that.
And Hop Hog is a distance to go and pick up a license, and that application basically makes you give up your firstborn. It's a huge application. So having said that,
I'm
though,
familiar because I was considering it. Yeah.
the town isn't easy either, but it's not that far away,
Yeah.
to your point. But the point for everyone to recognize is no one's off the hook still, meaning if you're building a house or you're planting hedges, you're still under the Suffolk County license should they come here and seek to enforce it.
Yeah, yeah.
So they have not been
More
robust in their...
importantly, it's to protect the
enforcement.
consumer.
Well, enforcement is a
the
whole
landowner.
other issue
Right.
that really needs to be considered more. Okay, good. Yep.
Thank you.
Michael?
I've had.
State your name again.
Michael White.
Thank you.
I've had a license in Suffolk County and Southampton for years, and it's not a secret. You can't get a building permit in this village without having a Suffolk County permit license, correct, Wayne?
Correct.
And, it's because somebody didn't know and they're working without insurance right now. That's not fair, and it's not burdensome, a county license. In fact,
The distance.
to drive to Hop Hog
Well, for
for
some,
your
if they
business?
only work
If you
there.
can't drive an hour, you shouldn't be in business. I mean, really. And the license for the town, I'm sure Wayne will tell you, it's kind of a joke, right? You just get insurance and you got yourself a license. In Suffolk County, they do a background check. You have to take a test. You have to tell them what types of insurance are necessary, what the rules are, because you're really on the hook as the village. If somebody gets hurt in this village, they'll sue the village if there's no insurance, and they make you indemnify the county so you guys don't get in trouble. And, for landscapers to sit here and say, oh, we didn't know about a license, well, you're the minority, because every landscaper I know has a license, and you're supposed to have a sticker on the back of your bumper, and that's the law. It's been like that for 30, 40 years that I know of, and to go and take the town license, I don't think that's a good idea. I think you should have to have a county license, because there's a lot of guys running around doing home improvements now, just have insurance. And, as soon as they get their insurance, they don't pay it anymore. And that's the end of it. And they're running around with no insurance. In Suffolk County, once your insurance doesn't get paid, they notify and you lose your license.
Where were you 3 months ago when we first had this conversation?
Well, I mean, I thought for sure everybody knew that you needed a license, because
No,
the
they
building
didn't.
department, you can't get
They're
a,
not.
you can't
They
get
did
it.
it.
Well, one reason.
How do you go out there, you know?
I think just for the benefit
You're
of
talking
all
building.
the parties is
Yeah.
clearly the building
It's different.
industry and that part of the law is well aware of it. The other part is the property maintenance and landscaping
The lawnmowers.
hasn't been very clear from the county's perspective that they actually regulate all landscapers, whether you're mowing the lawns or not. What they're regulating, it comes under their consumer affairs section, it's
Right.
consumer protection law. Anybody who's in the business of being a contractor, holding himself out to contract for services, including the party mowing lawns, in the county's position is they require a license.
Right.
Wayne, there are two cases currently at Suffolk County for two contractors from Southampton Village who thought they were okay with the town license. I don't know how they were able to do work, but they were.
Well,
So
they never got a permit here then.
I don't know the details.
There's no way, because that's the first thing they ask you for. And I've been going there for 20 years upstairs, and Diane, every single time, checks my license and makes sure it's legit and it's up to date. So if they did it without a permit, and they did it without a license. There's just no way. You don't need a license for a new house, but you need a license to do renovations. So,
Home improvement.
thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Any other comment? Yes.
Cindy McNamara, East Quogue. Sorry for my appearance. It was a long commute home today. I sent you a letter about the licensing, and I understand what Michael's talking about. My point was, and I've spoken to a lot of friends that do landscaping, and every one of them has gotten the county license, and it said, like, the first line is, it's not valid in the town of Southampton. We all have the town license. I think my issue is you're regulating one industry, and you're saying not only do you have to have the license, the county license, you also have to pay a registration fee to the village, where I think if you did it in intermunicipal agreement with the town, there's already stickers on trucks, you're not doing double work, it is what it is. There were comments, what's $200, what's this, what's that? I mean, for some of us, it's a lot of money. And it's, $200 is an orthodontist payment, $200 is 2 weekends on the beach with my kids. It's a lot of money, and if there's 4 other villages that we work in that accept the town license. So I just would really, 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 really love it if you would look into that, since that's not going to be up till next year. And the leaf blowers, I give up, I throw in the towel. I just want to know how many 911 calls there are. Thank you.
Thank you. Just let me say one thing between the town and the county licensing. Michael brought up a very important aspect of the county license is that it's I wouldn't say it's more restrictive, but it protects the homeowners a lot more than the town requirements. And, in a community like ours where there's a lot of spreading of insecticides and fertilizers, it's imperative that we keep control of that. So there's more aspects to the idea of a county license. Any other comments? Yes.
My name is Tony Piazza. I'm a village resident and also a local landscaping business owner. And I just wanted to encourage the trustees in your quest for how to resolve this issue with licensing or registration to look at the East Hampton Town model, because one of the things that they fold into their process is some continuing education. You have to have a certain number of hours of education just to get the license, and then every time you renew, you have to show 10 hours of continuing education. And what I think that does to help all of us as business owners and the clients that we serve and our municipalities is that it makes sure that the people that are applying for the license are sort of up to speed in their industry. So, the Suffolk County license is all about liability law. They don't ask any questions about insecticides or runoff water or anything for landscapers. So I think it might be good to consider some sort of proof of education within the discipline that you're applying for the license for. That's it. Thanks.
Thank you.
I just want to point out both the county does actually require proof that if you're going to use fertilizer products, you have to have a proof of certificate of attending their certification course. And if you're going to do anything with pesticides or otherwise, you have to have the DEC certification as well. We mirrored that requirement in your registration. So, but the continuing education thing is, if that, we'll look at East Hamptons, if you go and decide that you're going to go to a home improvement licensing, town doesn't require that.
I didn't
Town of
think of that.
Southampton doesn't require that.
The town doesn't require that.
continuing
Okay,
education.
Or the test.
Or the tests,
Yeah.
or anything of those
Yeah.
things.
Any other comments? Yep.
The only question I have is, why are you requiring a registration for just landscapers? Why not pool cleaners? Why not pesticide companies? Why not, I mean, nobody else is going to face an additional registration with the village. It's just landscapers. And there's a million other service industries in the village of Southampton that aren't going to be paying by the same, I mean, they're not going to have to pay it. They're not going to have to fill out a form. They're not going to come down to the village. They're going to get their county license and they're going to go about their day. Why are landscapers, and I mean, if it's for the regulation on the leaf blowers, well then why aren't contractors being asked to register their businesses? Because they're going to have to apply to noise ordinances. I just don't understand why landscapers are the only service industry being singled out by the village.
Well, we aren't singling out the landscapers. As Mike indicated earlier, that he has full licenses as a contractor. It is that the landscapers in the past has been a lot more loose affiliations and licensing. And all we're trying to do is to bring it in the standards to protect in part the homeowner and to protect on the applications and so forth. There's so many times that people put down fertilizer and
I call the DEC all the time when I see guys driving around with yellow push, you know, it's obvious what they're doing, and there's no triangles on their trucks. I mean,
there's no triangles on their trucks, and we're just trying to get a control of that. We aren't picking on any.
but I mean, why not
particular
pesticide
industry.
companies going around and spraying for ticks? I mean, I'm working on a client's
They're
customer,
included in
and
the
I've got,
registration.
Yeah, they're included.
even if they just spray.
Yep.
Yep,
Okay.
yep. We aren't picking.
Good question.
Any other comments? Fran?
Brandon Amcheski. So we're going to be able to use battery-operated blowers in the village
Yes.
through that time where the gas-operated ones are not?
365 days a year.
So is there a regulation on the decibels of the new the battery-operated leaf blowers? Because I heard one today that was...
You're still subject to the noise
Yeah,
ordinance.
they still are.
That thing was... Yeah, it actually hurt
Well, that
my
was
ears.
pretty good for you if you heard it.
Yeah. Definitely one here, so I always go like this. But, okay, thank you.
Yep. Any other comments? Yes.
Dieter von Leesten, co-chair Sustainability Committee of Southampton Town. I have one question. I listened last time to what you said. I have all the details of what you're proposing for the new law for the blowers. Would it be possible to include something which other municipalities around the country have done, say by 2022, to prohibit any gas leaf blowers? I suggest that you consider that seriously. For many, many municipalities have done it. If you don't have it in there, it's being pushed forward and forward and forward. So I think 2022 would be a good date. Thank you.
Thank you.
Patrick Manley, Westway Drive, Southampton. I'm just curious how you would
have you thought, I'm sure you have, how you're going to go about enforcing all this in the future? As far as,
Well, that's.
are you going to have, hire additional code enforcement, or
We're
put them
gonna
on
have to
a
hire-
around-the-clock type of
Yeah,
shift?
We're going to have to hire additional enforcement, and that's one of our reasons of moving the date forward, is because we realize that this is fairly big legislation and affecting a lot of people. And two, we've got to bring it so that it works rather than just a ad hoc arrangement quickly.
Right.
So that all will be worked out, yes.
Yeah, because I'm sure you will realize a lot of the operations that are big offenders are operating after
But we realize
5
that.
in the evening, so
Yep, no.
when most of the municipal people are off duty.
Off duty.
Right, so I'm sure that's going to be something that's going to be a burden on the village itself.
Yep.
Also, back to the licensing, in the future, if you decide that Suffolk County will cover the village, we will only need just a Suffolk County. There will be no village
No.
registration, right?
No,
Is
there
that
would be,
correct?
still be a village registration.
Just to clarify, currently, the county license applies
Right.
currently, right now in the village.
Okay,
So if you're operating in the village,
you need a county, I
you
understand
need a
that.
county license right now. So the question is, if the village does nothing to change that registration requirement, or does not adopt its own home improvement licensing, then the county law will still apply.
Okay.
But if the village adopts its own home improvement license, whether it does an agreement with the town or not, then the county license wouldn't apply
Okay,
at that point. But
And-
only if we adopt a local home improvement.
therefore we need a county and a village,
You wouldn't, you would just need the village.
just a village.
The village, whether we implement it with the town or not.
Okay, great, all right, thank you.
Wayne, can I ask something? I think I was a little confused, so I'm just going to repeat. If the village adopts registration and doesn't change the language as it is now, folks would still need to have a Suffolk County license.
Right.
Okay.
But more importantly, if we don't adopt the law,
They still need one.
you need a county license.
Yes.
Hi, Bill Fox, County Road 39. I'd appreciate if you could get the town of Southampton license to be an applicable home improvement license. It would save me one more hoop to jump through. You know, I have a New York State DEC license. I do all my education credits all the time. You know, and those can then apply towards the education. So I think the education's a good move. And then the enforcement, I think, is something that, you know, I personally participate in, you know, because if you're shorthanded and I'm jumping through the hoops, I'm going to be on the phone with you saying, hey, look at this. Hey, look at that. And I travel in circles all day long, just round and round and round, you know. So I'll happy to help enforce it, because I think everyone has to jump through the hoop. But I would appreciate if we could keep the licensing. You know, I have 5 licenses already.
No, I know.
You know what I mean? And I'm not like a lawyer or, you know, a medical person. You know, so you know, I don't know how many licenses a lawyer has. Maybe 1.
We don't need another lawyer, so.
He may not have any.
He may. We don't know.
We don't
But you know, I think you get where I'm coming from. You know, it's you know.
I know exactly what you mean. Yeah.
You're talking about for uniformity's sake, how every other,
Yeah.
I understand.
East Hampton's just doing it with the town license.
Right.
That seems to fall in line. Then you're not changing so much. I mean, I'm in business 23 years, you know, and I read that first line. I didn't read the second line, because that's my fault.
You know, Sagaponic doesn't have their own law, and if you're operating at Sagaponic, you need a county license.
Right, gotcha.
That was actually my question, Mr. Fox. Do you do any work outside of the town of Southampton?
Just in the town of East Hampton. and I have a town of East Hampton license.
Okay.
I'm
But
just in the town of Southampton.
And you work in the village of
And you work in the
Southampton.
village. So that's the only reason why you would require a Suffolk County license, is what you're saying?
Right.
Okay.
But
Right.
even now, working in the village,
Yeah, I
you
just-
you all
yeah.
should have county licenses.
Yeah, and I'm just,
Is my understanding...
getting to this now, because I figured,
Because we don't have it.
the village is in the town.
Right.
And all government is
Something has to
local
apply.
and goes out. So I just, fine, we're here, it's there, and I don't even go past that.
Yeah.
So I figured I was good. So, I got to jump through the hoop again. I took the fertilizer class, Suffolk County.
Yeah, no, that's good.
It's fine.
It's good.
It's another, it's a Cornell extension,
Yep.
class. It's, they do all the seminars anyway, so it's all the same people. So it's fine. It's good class, another class.
Yeah.
Save the water, Okay,
Actually, I was just discussing with the counselor, again, reason why it's the county, and as was pointed out, at one point, we had our own law. In 2006, there was a village law in the books, which was kind of like an IMA with the town. When that stopped, the reason why the village of Southampton and Sagaponic, the only other one, and they were newly incorporated, relatively newly incorporated village, it defaults to the county because we don't have anything else. That's what the county. So it's not like we made the choice of that, but when we don't have anything else with the town or our own, which we had at one point, and that's the lawyer just told me that's why the village of Southampton is the only one out of the other villages that adopts or that follows the county. That's the default option because we have nothing else. Which is again why we're looking into this. We have time to maybe.
Yeah, and going to January 1st, I think, is a good move because you can't just change everybody's
it's just not
in a minute.
possible.
Well, we wouldn't be able to
And the
implement it
stickers. I mean,
correctly.
we're gonna have like 6 stickers on trucks now.
Get a bigger truck.
We won't be able to see through them and where they're gonna go.
Like NASCAR.
But Mr. Fox, for the Suffolk County license, is there a sticker?
Yeah, there's
I
a
think they
sticker.
give you
Sure, it's a
card.
yellow sticker.
Yeah.
There's a
those-
yellow sticker for
Yeah.
pesticide. but
No,
is-
there's a triangle.
For
And depending
pesticide.
on what year it
Pesticide.
is, it's either pink or black right now.
Yeah.
Because they change every 2 years.
I think it's black.
There's a business registration for the pesticides, and then there's a commercial applicator's license for the pesticides, and they're on different cycles. So you have to keep on top of, where your business is, and then where your personal license is. And then, once your credits come up, then you recertify. So then there's a recertification cycle. So there's 3 cycles just to spray a weed, which is fine, because that's how it is.
You got beach stickers or 4x4 stickers, and there's a lot of stickers on these vehicles.
Yeah, so we're going to have a registration sticker for the village. We're going to have a home improvement sticker for the town of Southampton. We're going to have a pesticide applicator, 2 stickers, one on each side of the truck. And then we're going to have a home improvement Suffolk County sticker. And then we're going to have a town of East Hampton home improvement license sticker, and then we're going to have a Village of East Hampton registration sticker.
I think you need a passport.
So, then we're going to get a ticket because we can't see out the rearview mirror.
I was going to say, you won't be able to see.
And then, so, I mean, it's going to be like, whatever. It's gonna be, I don't, and then you have to pick the stickers up. Right? They won't mail them to you. You have to go there right now in town of Southampton. You have to go there and pick them up. I've stopped. If I'm going to go to a client's house or go pick up the stickers, I'm going to go to the client's house. And the clients here, they're funny. I don't think they deal with consumer affairs. I think they fire you and stiff you the last payment they owe you and then threaten you to use their lawyer, right? Rather than go to consumer affairs because it's a lot faster. We're in a market where the clients are fast. And if you can work fast, they love you and they keep you. And if you don't keep up, they let you go. And I don't think they deal, up island, maybe they deal with a lot of consumer affairs because people don't have the jingle to, hire the lawyers. But here, it's a different story.
Yeah.
You have to keep up or, it's very competitive.
Or they just stop
You
paying
can
you.
ask everybody. It's very competitive here. And everybody here does a good job. That's why we're here.
Yeah.
That's the point. That's why I'm offering my services for enforcement because, the people that care I've been to every one of these meetings, because, this is my livelihood. I care about what I do. Do I want to infect the water? No. Do I want bacteria growing? Do I want algae? No. Buffer zones around ponds? Absolutely. 20 feet, 40 feet, 50 feet. Tony, I'm sure, can design a gazillion of them, and they'd be great, and I can plant them. I mean, we can all do this together. You know what I mean? I mean, and the new septic systems, it's the Georgia Pond, Friends of Georgia Pond. They just got stuck with, they're not gonna dredge Georgia Pond this year because there's too many permits. It's gonna take too long, and they're gonna miss the season by the time they get the permits. So it's like, how much I don't have the answer. But I'm a compliance guy. I'm going to comply as we go, and I'm discovering things that I, shockingly not complying with, which I'm a little, a little miffed about, really, because I keep thinking, the village is located in the town. Let's see, it's almost like George Carlin. The village is in the town, but it doesn't pay attention to the town at all. So it's I don't know. It's mind-boggling. It's geography, right? It's geography. But people get into the geography and everything goes crazy. So if you can communicate with the town down the street, it might be good. It'd be good for me. It'd be easier for me. And I agree, I get Michael's point, that you want someone educated and you want someone, who's doing it properly. I'm a big fan of that. I think that's right. But the license on top of the license, where do you stop? Taxman. Let's go back to the Beatles. Where do you stop? You make a few bucks and you get taxed to smithereens. You do well in bit. Okay, now you got to license you some more, and then everyone's running around the street, and the ones without the licenses are just doing the same thing. They're just cutting through all the red tape. So I'll be taking pictures and emailing them to you, and giving you licenses and driver's licenses.
If it makes any condolences for you, that's why we've taken so long in looking at these. Because we don't want to give you another sticker and another license and
But that's what's happening, so you don't want to, but you will, and we will take it, and we'll deal with it, But it's, the whole process has been fine. I think everyone's learning a lot about, the landscape industry. I think, it's a great lesson, in equipment and in what we do. And I think we're all pretty passionate about what we do. I think you can tell that, we send kids to college doing this. I can retire. If I wanted to sell it and say, see ya, it's given me the opportunity to retire. Come on, right? So I'm very thankful. And the process has been fine, and we're all talking. It's all good, It's just and even the noise and the two-cycle. I'm not a two-cycle oil fan. I'm just never been.
Time.
Oh, time.
Yeah. Thank you. You got it.
All right.
Thank you.
Well, can anybody beat that?
It's a pretty tough act to follow.
Mr. Smith goes to Washington.
Mr. Fox.
Any other comments? Any comments from the board?
Other than what I've said already.
Okay. I think, and I would make a motion, I think we can close both those. We should probably close them individually, I think. So I'll make a motion to close the proposed local law annual registration of landscapers.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. And I propose to close the proposed local law nuisances, unnecessary noise from construction and property maintenance.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Moving ahead in public hearings, we have another proposed local law. More laws.
Damn lawyers.
So I make a motion to open the proposed local law to clarify the height of residence where a portion of the roof is flat.
Okay.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Interesting.
So, Mr. Mayor, may I, if you may, if you want to wait a second.
He's pointing out, you know, we used to have a local law in 2006.
So this local law was proposed, you received correspondence, something that the Planning Commission dealt with when you dealt with height of structures back in 2015. There was a reports both regarding the as-built conditions throughout the village. There was also a report on height done by Nelson Pope and Voorhees. One of the products of that was a section in the zoning code that limit the height of structures in certain zoning, particular on lots less than 20,000, the maximum height would be 30 feet. From 20 to 40,000, it would be 33 feet, and 40,000 and greater would be 35 feet. It was all qualified, however, by the following sentence. Notwithstanding the foregoing, the maximum height in feet dimension for any residential building with a roof pitch flatter than 7 on 12, i.e. 7 inches a rise for every 12 inches a run, shall be 7 feet less than the maximum height set forth in the above table. So if you had a flat roof and you were in a lot less than 20,000, your maximum height would be 23 feet. And of course, 20 to 40, it would be 26, and 40 or greater, it would be 28 feet. The issue that has arisen is in the language here, what is essentially a flat roof. And so there has been many structures that have come through the building department that have what we'll call as a hybrid. Certainly the building, the entire roof is not one continuous pitch. There are flat portions. So the issue that has arisen is, you know, has that achieved what this board was trying to protect against? And so we went back to the reports, and one of the recommendations that came out of the as-built was a strategy which is not particular apples to apples for which I've drafted here, but the strategy was to limit flat roofs above 27 feet to only 5% of the roof area. So that's a little different than what we've stated here, but what we did is added to the language that for the portion of the roof that's flatter than 7 on 12 over greater than 5%, then the roof, the building has to be 7 feet less. So what we're trying to identify is in that hybrid, a certain percentage of the roof area. I admittedly have been asking the building department and the planning commission. The planning commission actually gave you a letter March 7th that said members noted this proposal will maintain the intent of the earlier recommendations regarding flat roofs and viewed the proposal as fixing an inadvertent flaw in the code. Therefore, we support the proposal. We note that in a public session there was an opinion expressed by an audience member that the proposal was not necessary because the flat portion of the roof was not visible. Interestingly, when I went to the building department where this proposal, part of it is an origin there, the question, and Chris remembers the debate back in 2015, but he believes that the debate was left with the language here so that the Architectural Review Board would have the discretion to determine the appropriate architecture, whether it's flat or not. And he noted that many of the structures that they have received some complaints about have all been approved by the Architectural Review Board, notwithstanding certain flat portions. He provided me with some preliminary information. In some of those cases, the flat portions A lot of them were generated by the requirement, the HERS requirement under the code, where someone is required to provide the energy savings, and there's one of the ways you can do that is by incorporating solar energy into your housing. And so to do that, you do not put the solar panels, particularly on a south-facing building facing a street, on the front facade of the house. What they do is they try to hide that behind the facade, but you need to do it on a flat portion of the roof. So they've incorporated that. So Chris is continuing to do some investigation. He's found upwards of almost 20% in some cases of flat roofs. The total of the roof needs to be, was needed in those cases to incorporate the solar panels in those cases. So we're trying to find out what is that happy medium. We believe the 5% was a starting point, but again, that was not apples to apples because it was 5% above 27 feet. Mm-hmm. So that's not exactly what was written there. So my recommendation here is that you need further information, particularly out of the building department. We'd love to hear whatever comments the public may have, and my recommendation would be to keep this open. Nonetheless, we still need a report from the Suffolk County Planning Commission.
We did. We received a Suffolk County Planning Commission that said it was a matter of local determination.
Okay.
Well, my concern is that the solar use has become larger and larger, and I don't think anybody really wants to see solar panels on the side of a building. And the option is to put them on the flat surface on the roof. I gotta believe that there is a formula on the size of that area that would be required to get a building to go in the HERS rating, and I think that's where we got to look at.
So I just want to note, we also received a letter from Tarbert and Lester representing the Southampton Association, who had previously written a letter on this as well. And they acknowledged the proposal as being a good proposal. They also had some suggestions to help us refine some of the language. Particularly, we were trying to eliminate the area of an open porch. They rather suggested, which I think is a good suggestion. Rather than we call it an open porch, we call it an unenclosed porch. But language like that wouldn't count towards that total roof area, because we want to encourage porches and things like those architectural elements. But nonetheless, so they have some recommendations for us to change and consider as well. In the discussions that I've had with others, one thought was, in reviewing the law, that meant if you had any flat portion in your house, it was supposed to be 7 feet below the other level. So, and another part of that was you should be able to have unlimited amount. So even if you had 90% that was flat, as long as it was 7 feet below, you can imagine that's sort of where the building department has been, and they say, well, if the ARB approves it, then we should be fine, and it shouldn't be limited. But I think for clarification on this, I think you need a starting point. And so another option was a hybrid, that you pick a percentage, whether it be 5, 10, 15, 20, or whatever the percentage is, and then any portion that exceeds that percentage would have to meet the 7-foot reduction. So there's a few options still on the table here to review this, and so I think we need to have some more consideration.
Any comments from the public?
Yeah, Mike will be there.
Ladies first, Mike.
Yeah. Oh, such a gentleman. Who said chivalry is dead? Good catch, Mike.
Good evening. Madeline Van John, representing the Southampton Association. Your attorney mentioned that we submitted a letter earlier today with a couple of minor suggestions, but we do in general support the proposal to limit it to 5%. I do so in most other municipalities, there isn't any sort of exemption for 5% any kind. In East Hampton Village, they require the slope to be continuous. In East Hampton Town, there's no exemption for any sort of flat roof portion. And I think the reason for that is it's allowing these flat roof portions at the top, at the center of a house, have led to a strange new architectural style that is just essentially designed to maximize the volume and the floor area on the inside. It's not for any true architectural element. These aren't traditional mansard roofs, which is what they're, sometimes they're referred to that because they have a flat portion and slopes on the side, but essentially it's just these strange new box-like houses that are popping up everywhere with these flat roofs on the top that just, we can appreciate the need for solar energy, but people are installing those in other municipalities that don't have these flat roof exemptions. They seem to be able to figure it out just fine and meet their HERS ratings. So I'm not sure that a larger percentage really is necessary for that. If people they are in a situation where the only way that to have their solar panels not facing the street is to put them flat, then perhaps they need to design a house that meets the lower height limits so that, anybody can have a flat roof, it just has to meet the lower height limits. So I don't think it's overly burdensome in that case to limit, 5%. It allows some leeway for architectural elements and that sort of thing without just creating these houses that, that they don't have any particular architectural interest in the style. It's just to maximize the roof area on the interior. And the only other sort of main point that was in my letter is that the draft law suggested exempting entryways and open porches from the roof area calculation, and we'd just like to suggest that only exempt those that are on the first story, so that there's no second story flat roof porches sticking out the side, because that would just add to the massing problem. I don't think that something like that would need to be exempted. So yeah, we're glad that it's going to be kept open for further study, but we would just hope that it wouldn't maybe go in the direction of increasing the percentage, because I think there's other ways to resolve the HERS issue and the solar issue without, unless there's a specific exemption created for that, because then other people are just going to use those percentages for different reasons, and the houses are just going to keep getting larger. I mean, the original law, when it was written, other municipalities that have laws like that, they've never interpreted them to allow any percentage of flat roof above the 7-foot lower limit. So I know it's been happening here for a few years, so the building inspectors now are just being consistent with past practice. But to me, it's a little curious that it was interpreted that way in the first place, because there's nothing in the law suggesting that any portion of a flat roof could be higher than the 7-foot lower limitation. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Michael White. This isn't a new phenomenon. They've been doing this for years. And I'll bring you to 10 houses, and you can't tell me which one has the flat roof. I can't even tell. I mean, most of the houses I've done have flat roofs on them, and you can't see them. We did one on Bishop Avenue. It has a 300-square-foot flat roof. You could never, ever tell. And, if you want to go and start putting solar panels on the side of a roof, that's what we're gonna do, because you can't regulate the solar panels. You guys said you have to have solar, so people put them on the side of their roofs. It's going to look horrible. And, the flat roof is to take the mass out. I mean, otherwise, if you don't have a flat roof, you're going to have dormers every inch of a house to get their square footage. And it's going to look horrible. And surprisingly, I was the one at the Planning Commission that made the comment about that. And 3 members didn't know what I was talking about. So there's one board member who just writes whatever, and he doesn't have the consensus ever of anybody, because I'm the only one that goes to those meetings. And 3 members asked me if they could go and look at these houses I'm talking about, because they're thinking that these roofs are flat, that you can see them. And one example is the one on the corner of Captain's Neck and Hill Street. There's a flat roof at the very top. You can't even see the house from the street anymore. And I think what happens in this village is people see a new house with the orange siding, small landscaping, and they're like, wow, that looks terrible. And then 6 months when it grows in and it fades, you never hear from them again. And I think it should really be left up to, instead of the Southampton Association dictating every time what goes on with planning and design in this village, let the ARB do it. Let people come in that neighborhood and say whether they like the flat roof or not. Because it's we're like judging people and telling them what to do and taking away their freedom of expression based on a group of people that don't even live anywhere near a lot of these houses. And ironically, the two biggest, the loudest voices from that group, their houses don't even come close to conforming to today's requirements. And I think that's very obnoxious to do something like that, And, why do you want me to do something when you don't want to do it and when you won't do it? And I think that's pretty outrageous. And I think the village board trustees should stop with the regulations and let the ARB do it. And let the people stand up there and talk about it. And if the Southampton Association doesn't like it, they should come to every single meeting of the ARB and say something. But to be the judge and jury here and tell somebody how to build their house, I think it's getting a little crazy. And I think you've seen it on Gin Lane. This guy's got an 8-acre oceanfront property, and you're telling him he can't build 14,000 square feet? That's like building 2,000 square feet on an acre. It makes no sense what we're doing.
Mike, you're a builder, maybe you know. Is there a formula size-wise for the number of panels that you may need?
Yeah,
is it based on the square footage of the house?
Yeah.
It is.
One I have now in North Main, I have to put up 700 square feet of panels, which is a lot. And I don't want to put it on the roof because it's going to look horrible. Can you imagine that pointing in the street? And I can't put it on the back. So behind the garage, I'm going to have to make some kind of lean-to with these panels. And I don't know why the village adopted that part of the HERS rating, because solar is the worst out of all the things you could do. Foam energy and efficient gas boilers are the best. Solar is a waste of money. You have to get money from the state. It costs $30,000 to $40,000. You're getting half of it from the state, and it never pays for itself. And God knows, what do you do in 10 years when it breaks? And I think there's certain things that the village should look at, because you're starting to see a lot of really hideous looking houses going up now because of the new codes and because of the solar. And, I think they should really think about it, maybe have some more architects come in and talk about what we're creating, rather than just saying, well, we don't want a flat roof. They don't, I bet you if I took the Southampton Association on a bus ride and we ran around the village, they couldn't show you any of the houses that had a flat roof. And, and I've been to the building department, and the planning commission said that it was a recommendation from the building department. They never recommended to do anything like this. So I don't know where it all stems from, all these, well, I kind of know where it comes from, but why do they keep doing this to people? Let people do what they want. They pay a lot of money for their property. They support us. We're lucky we have these people that, support our businesses, and, we should just really let people do what they want in reason,
Gotcha.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Any comments from the board members?
No.
So we're leaving it open.
Yeah, we'll leave it open. So next meeting is,
Do you think that's too soon? I think it would be good.
did you go to the,
At least, start with for discussion purposes.
okay. So the next meeting is
For 11th.
April 11th. Okay. So I'll make a motion to, I guess I have to make a motion to close the proposed law?
No, adjourn it.
Just
For-
adjourn it. So I'll make a motion to adjourn the proposed local law to clarify the height of residences where a portion of the roof is flat until April 11th.
Second? All in favor?
With no communications with the board, we move to suggested resolutions.
Entertain a motion resolved that the reading of the minutes for the public session of March 14th, 2019 be dispensed with, that those minutes be accepted as filed by the village administrator, and that the actions taken at that meeting be and hereby are ratified and approved.
I make a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
In favor?
Aye.
Entertain a motion resolved that the claims for the warrants dated March 26, 2019, totaling $103,584.28, be audited and approved.
So moved.
Second?
Second?
On to the bills. Alliance Systems Integrators for $17,732.39. That's cameras, licensing, and installation, and some repairs for the police department's camera system. Applied Fiber Concepts, Inc., $4,600. That's for 12 ballistic helmets for the police department. Carrier Corporation, $1,655. That's an HVAC service agreement for the Hampton Road Firehouse. Cast Productions, $2,535. That's the video recording and production for village meetings. Econo Signs, $4,339.32. That's signage, street signage for the highway department. Firematic Supply Company, $3,994.06. That's truck repair, steering box, and ball joints for 7318 pumper in the fire department. Granger, $2,575.56. That's ice melt and other maintenance supplies for various village departments. Island Biogreens, $5,011.25. That's organic fertilizers. Messiano Consulting, $3,413.33. That's for various grant writing services. Nassau Diagnostics, $7,820. That's for 19 mandatory physical exams in the fire department. National Grid, $9,248.34. That's natural gas for multiple locations. Old Town Animal Hospital, $1,122.50. That's medical services for a village member.
Four-legged one.
HIPAA rules require that I don't say anything more.
A four-legged member.
What the hell's already happened to them? We just got...
He's protected under HIPAA. Optimum, $2,207.26. Cable and internet for various locations. Power Equipment Plus, $1,500.54. That's for an 18-inch chainsaw, an electric leaf blower with battery pack.
Hey.
PSE&G Collection Services, $2,601.69. That's for electric at multiple locations. Ronco, $1,837.82. That's cleaning supplies for building maintenance. Testing Unlimited Corp., $1,750. That's mandatory fire department ladder testing. The Press Newspaper Group, $1,196.67. That's for the spring cleanup ad and legal notices. Verizon, $3,695.91. That's telephone charges. That is it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
What are ballistic helmets for the police department? Putting somebody on the moon or anything, are we? I disturb you, Chief. I just
Okay. As you may or may not know, we restarted we call it special response. It's kind of like a SWAT team. And it's a helmet that protects your head like the bulletproof vest protects your chest.
Buy more.
Special grade helmet.
Entertain a motion resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby approves the purchase of fire department pagers from Fire Equipment Reserve in the amount of $11,055, subject to permissive referendum.
So moved.
Second? All in favor?
Are these new pagers, or are they in addition?
They are, I believe they are
replacements.
Replacement for
older ones.
On the upgraded megahertz, right?
Doesn't apply to the pager system. That would be the radios you're talking
Radios?
about. The hand
Okay.
radios, so it's separate. These are, the pagers that the clip on.
Thank you.
And I haven't gotten those in a while, so that's it.
It was a scheduled purchase, but as you recall, we, in advance of the purchase, yes.
Okay, moving ahead, we have several discussion items. And I think that the first item was, we discussed at the last meeting, wanted further clarification on it. And it's Gail DeMarco, request for a party at Little Plains Road on June 21st.
Yes.
Hi. Mackenzie Coster. Nice to see you guys. Sorry I wasn't here last time. I was still out of town.
It's all right.
So what were your questions?
I think it was in regards to the size of the party, you're going to provide sanitary facilities?
So you
restrooms?
actually have 2 restrooms that are at that beach, and we are bringing in 3 more.
Okay. So you
Somebody asked about the parking too? Or the parking?
So we aren't actually expecting 120 people. We're expecting a lot less. We're seating for a lot less. But regardless, we are arranging for transportation for about half of the guests, either through shuttles from a main house that they're all staying at, and we're also considering some shuttling out of our parking lot as well.
So guests will just, who choose to drive, will just drive there themselves and
Yes,
park?
and they'd be parking after 6 o'clock.
Okay.
And we started it a little extra late because of the really late sunset.
So when you don't expect that many people to come, you think it's 100 or 90 or?
So I like to leave the permit at 125. We are expecting between 80 and 100. But just in case the invitation list gets a little bit bigger, we figured we'd cover our butts. And we're expecting, including staff cars, around 35 to 40 vehicles.
And the only reason why this was a concern for me is a number of residents have had trouble parking when there have been previous events.
Oh gosh, yeah. That parking lot gets quite busy.
You know, and they just said, could we also park there? So that was the only question. It sounds like you'll have sufficient.
We should have sufficient parking, and like I said, no one will be there during the day. I shouldn't have any staff there even before 6 o'clock. We specifically set it up a little bit later so that we wouldn't get in the way of any of the bathers or anything.
And somebody mentioned there was also parking across the way, which I didn't realize, so.
Across the way. Across the way. Across the way.
And through the brook and over the field.
Across the way.
Also, the other question was that the
location
the
of the tables.
handwritten diagram.
Yeah,
may
my
not-
question is just, I mean, that was probably rough, but.
Setup on, we have a standardized setup that we do, and we choose our location based on a number of different things. The one main is the wind direction. We are barbecuing. So we'd like to set it up in such a way that sometimes we're blocking the wind. It depends on that. We set up either slightly to the left or slightly to the right. I prefer to set up slightly to the east, but that's not always an option.
No, that's fine. Actually, I've seen how you've done that.
Yeah.
But the diagram actually had it like dead south.
Yeah.
So I figured that was just a little inaccurate rendering. That's why I would make sure.
Yeah,
Typically,
it's
I
just,
see you're
you
off
take that and
distance.
then you move it,
Yeah,
depending on which way the wind is blowing.
Just check. Good.
Any other questions?
Nope.
Yep, I think we're good.
Have fun.
All right,
Thank
can
you.
I pick that up from Mimi?
Well, let's do this first.
Yeah.
Let's entertain a motion
To approve. Yes.
Yeah.
Make the
moved.
motion.
Second? Okay.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All
Now
right,
you
thanks,
may
guys.
pick it up from
Well,
me.
thank you for waiting through the rest of the meeting for that.
No worries. Apparently, I'm not getting out of town anyway, so the
Yeah.
highway is still closed.
It's still messed up.
Boy.
Oh, that's no good.
No, it's
So it's
not.
not closed,
The chief is saying it's not.
closed anymore?
Yeah, it's just a residual.
That's what I was doing on my phone, I was checking.
It was in backup for a while, so it takes a while to
Yeah.
cleanse itself.
Thanks, guys, have a nice night.
Thank you.
Thank you. You too.
Then we have another discussion item is number 2 is Rogers Memorial Library movie at Agawam Park, which is scheduled for August 13th, 2019.
Well, either the 6th or the 13th, it said.
August 13th, I think.
I have here, is this
At the last meeting, perhaps it was decided the 13th. And I was asked to speak with Mr. Business from the CEO, which I did, and he said, full blessing of the CEO.
Okay.
Okay.
That's all I wanted to know. Okay, thank you.
Good.
Entertain a
And great
motion.
movie.
Yep.
What movie did they pick? Oh,
Hidden Figures.
We love that movie.
We entertain a motion permitting the Rogers Memorial Library to do a movie in the park on August 13th, 2019.
I'll make that motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
And our next discussion item is the Southampton Fire Department, the 2019 event schedule.
Julie, do you want to talk a little bit about it?
So it is the normal annual fire department banquet at Flying Point Field. The actual event is Saturday, June 1st. They would start to set up Thursday, May 30th, and everything would be removed Sunday, June 2nd. I did check with the Little League to make sure that there wouldn't be any conflict, and they said everything was fine for that particular one. Their annual family gathering on Sunday, August 4th at Dune Beach. I checked with Mimi to see if there were any conflicts on that, and she said no, nothing else was scheduled. So there were no conflicts on that one. And then the last is the antique muster, which they're asking for the Saturday after Labor Day, so September 7th. This year they were asking for a little bit of difference. They were looking to possibly extend the format a little bit and maybe do it somewhat more like Southampton Fest, where they would consider inviting some vendors in, art vendors and food vendors. I said that was a little bit of a concern from the Southampton Fest committee because it's just 2 weeks apart.
Yep. Good point. I mean, they've addressed that to me in the past, and that's something to discuss. You know, that doesn't have to be decided tonight, but as it approaches, certainly we can discuss whether to let them do that, and as you know, not. But that's a good point if it's that close to the September Fest. But they did want to expand on on that event itself. I don't know if it will compete so much or take away from the September Fest because. It is a pretty, it draws a pretty particular crowd, unique crowd, certainly, as far as, firematics go, and for everyone else, the general public. But those certainly are things I think to consider, and I think they're very open to suggestions of if they just want to change it up a little bit. Is really what their goal is, I think.
Okay. So, Rich, would you like to make the motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to accept these dates to set aside for the Southampton Fire Department events.
A second?
Second.
All in favor?
And I think the last one we have.
I just ask for a clarification, so, just reading their letter, and they do ask about, setting up the vendors and everything. Okay. So is that being approved as part of this, or is that being left open for further discussion?
I think we should leave that open for further discussion, right? Okay, so, yes.
I agree with that.
Clarification.
Point, Counselor.
So we're approving the dates.
We're approving the dates.
And the details of the event
to be
ironed out and approved by the board.
Okay.
Just the muster. Everything else, I think, is fine.
Yeah. All right, bookends. Where to go?
And the fourth discussion item is Hope for Depression Run, which is scheduled for August 4th, 2019.
This is again an annual event. The only difference this year is that there is a slight change to the route in that they are asking for it to be a 5K rather than a 3-mile, which actually adds 1/10 of a mile. But that way it can be a sanctioned 5K. I have spoken with the chief and the police department regarding the route. We've had several routes going back and forth, and we think we have landed on the one that you have attached here that would work.
The additional tenth of a mile does create additional need for additional officers, but the group has said that they're willing to pay the additional costs of the additional officers, even though it's just a tenth of a mile more.
Okay. And the route is agreed upon? Those are the best kind.
As long as you don't need the ballistic helmet.
Yeah, as long as you don't do the ballistic helmet.
And there's no conflicts on the date, or?
No, that's been the date they've had for the past several years, so.
Okay. So I'll make a motion to accept the Hope for Depression Run on August 4th, 2019, as they have indicated.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The person who filled out that application has wonderful penmanship.
You know, I was thinking the same.
I know, isn't it? It's amazing.
Yeah.
Looks like she does mechanical drawing or something, beautiful penmanship.
But I bet the person cannot write cursive.
Okay. Completion of the discussion items. We have comments from board members. Trustee Skremski.
Yeah, as just mentioned quickly before, I do want to, there was, I think, unfortunately, first of probably, hopefully not more to come or many to come, but season is upon us and traffic has increased, so there was one of our first major accidents on County Road 39 this afternoon, 4 or 5 o'clock, right at the prime time, a multiple vehicle accident. Thankfully, no fatalities, but it did certainly block up traffic for a very long time going both directions. So I do want to thank and commend our first responders out there, Southampton Fire Department, SVVA, Southampton Village Volunteer Ambulance, the Southampton Town Volunteer Ambulance, our Southampton Village and Town Police Departments for, again, addressing it quickly and for continuing, moving the traffic along again as quickly as they could, because again, there's limited space to go to when every road is blocked up, and literally every corner, every way to get away or get around was blocked. So again, unfortunately, I believe we're in that time of the season. This is where it starts, and that was the first one. But again, I thank all our first responders and departments that responded to it efficiently.
I think they all got it moving pretty quickly, too, so thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Rich. And Trustee Allen?
Nothing tonight.
Yeah, don't hurt yourself. And keep that
Well,
Thank you.
we all hope you feel better.
Yes, keep that mouth shut.
This is a little bit.
Okay.
Just stay over there.
You're right.
Keep that.
Trustee McGann?
I don't really have any. I might come up with something after we're all talking here, but nothing.
I'm not going to inspire Nancy tonight with anything either.
Oh,
That's
darn
right.
it.
No limerick?
No limerick?
Oh, God. No, they're too funny.
Before you speak, Mayor, I know that last meeting we didn't get an opportunity to thank all of the women who both serve and work for the Village of Southampton. It is Women's Recognition Month, and we're very, very fortunate to have so many women who do make large contributions and are a great asset to this village.
We do. Thank you for pointing that out. We certainly do, and I thank them all, including you two.
Thanks.
Hats off to Nancy. I think you are the longest standing female trustee the village has ever had. Is that not correct?
Because there haven't been that many. So that's why.
Be that as it may, you are the longest serving one.
I think you're the third, right?
Actually, yeah, I think so. Linda
I can claim
Senlensky was the first.
She ran with
Yeah.
me.
Bonnie.
Yeah, and then Bonnie was appointed and then ran. And actually, I was before Bonnie.
Okay.
No, Bonnie was in, then she was out, then I came on, then Bonnie came back. We brought her back, I guess, or she came back. So, and then you. The world's changing.
In a good way.
Yes.
It's all very positive stuff.
Yeah, look.
And keeping it positive, I think I sent a note to Julie this morning on my way to work. I saw the first osprey.
Yay.
And they're always a great indication that spring is finally coming, so I think that that is really good.
I saw a big, beautiful one over on Deerfield. There's a couple of nests there,
There you
and
go.
he or she was flying low. It's like, oh, I thought it was going to hit my windshield. It was just so close.
And they're big birds.
Yeah, they're huge. I mean, it was so exciting to see it. Lots of robins around, by the way, on my, and actually this morning I woke up to a cardinal singing its heart out. It was fabulous. Yeah, I love them. Love the birds.
And also, another trustee needs to be complimented, Trustee Skrimsky. His daughter performed the national anthem on March 5th at the general meeting of the Suffolk County Legislature. That's pretty impressive.
It was, yes, thank you.
Yep.
I had no part of that. That was all her, but yes, I just merely there in attendance. Yes, it was. She did a good job with that.
Yeah, she did a great job. And
there's a picture of us with
I would say you had a little
Bridget
part in
Fleming.
it.
Well, okay, well, yes. I mean, yes. But certainly not the singing part of it.
I heard she got her voice from you.
Of course. But yeah, that's with us with Bridget, legislator.
I also want to congratulate you, Rich, because you have two great kids.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Mayor.
Both done terrific jobs.
Thank you.
And then at SAC, we got a couple of programs coming up. Talking about kids, on April 3rd through Wednesday, May 1st, we have the Kids Club with puppets with Liz Joyce from Goat on the Boat, or Goat on a Boat.
Yeah.
Which I'm not sure quite what it is, but I'm sure it would be a lot of
Actually, I've
fun.
been to it with my kids. It's a good. She does a great job. It's a
Does
great.
she? Yeah.
It's a great show.
What age group again?
It doesn't say, it just says kids.
Yeah, they're usually pretty young, I'd say like 4 to 10-ish, around there.
And then, this would be kind of fun to do, really. It's a live and share at 7 o'clock on Saturday, March 30th. We have Saturday Night Stomp, 70s, 80s, and 90s dance party. I think I know somebody who's going to feel better and go, huh?
You mean Bill?
The last two were a lot of fun.
There's also a film share at 7 o'clock on Friday, March 29th, Minding the Gap, 2019 documentary feature of the Oscar nominee. I'm not quite sure what that's about.
I don't know either, except for that it was part of the 2019 Academy Award nominees for Best Documentary. So it's a whole series that they're doing.
Oh, nice.
Next is Free Solo, which is supposed to be amazing.
And then the last thing is that Nancy and myself, and with the support of the other trustees, have been meeting with the business district, taking a look at the issue of vacancies in the village of Southampton. And we have gotten incredible feedback from them.
Yeah, it's been terrific.
Yeah, all of them have been terrific. All of them have given us some great ideas. And one of which is we're looking at developing a website to promote them and bring them all together. Because I think the general consensus, which is great, is that they all felt that as a group, they have far more impact than they do as single individuals. And retail is drastically changed in the last few years, and it's pretty difficult in this village. But the exciting part is we have events like this that we just discussed. We have the concerts in the park. We have 3 really great arts centers. You know, we have the Cultural Center, we have the Southampton Arts Center, and we have the American History.
The Southampton History
Museum.
And we have the library.
And we have the
library has a
library.
lot of programs.
Yep.
And so, you know, with the website, the nice part about the website is that, you know, when you're traveling on your way out here, if there's 2 people in the car, or if you stop, you can go on your phone and look up to see exactly what's going on out here over the weekend and make a decision. Oh, gee, I really think I want to do that. Let's get some tickets for that. You can do it ahead of time. You can do it during the week. It just brings it right to you, which seems to be what people want today. You know, we were talking about how years ago, you know, people would go into the chamber and say, what's going on? Oh, we have this happening and we have that happening. People aren't doing that anymore, unfortunately. You know, they need to look it up on their tablet. They need to look it up on their phone. You know, they need the convenience of that. And so that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to organize it to help people and make the village much more inviting, because now they'll know what's going on. And so it's the point of it all.
Yeah. No, and
to help.
And I think it's been a big help. I mean, certainly we're in a society of clicks.
Yeah.
Everything is, you know, even in my business dockage, transient dockage is all done on the iPhones and smartphones.
My business too.
You know, so the big attempt is that Southampton Village, I think, can bring such an experience to people between the art centers and the walkability and the ocean and the parks that we have available. We have one of the most beautiful parks down on Lake Agawam. And that we can get people to move away from just clicking their phones, and maybe they'll take a walk and revisit the experience of buying in a brick and mortar store, which is what it's all about. And I stress shop local. You know, we got a great village, great group of shopkeepers, and you know, go experience them. And that is all I have for tonight. And we got second comments. Anybody?
Can I just have one question I thought of? Russ, any more word from the town on that housing project that we were unenthused about?
They have not scheduled a...
We've been pretty quiet on it.
Yeah, they've been quiet. They have not scheduled a work session agenda item. Again, they have told us that they will. I do think it's important that between Julie and I that we keep on top of it.
Okay,
She calls one office, I call another, and between the 2 of us, we surround them.
Good.
You outflank them.
Yes.
There you go.
With no further comments, make a motion to adjourn to executive session for the purpose of discussing contractual matters.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, aye.